to shout, but the left was right, and the right was wrong. We ain't believing this lie, it's time to get gone.
Pam Cash, it is time to cash out. Welcome to the Mike Martin Podcast, everyone. Hit that button. Hey, we got Nick Fuentes here, and he's going to tell us his thoughts about this whole Epstein deal. And you know what? I'm agreeing with the guy. I got to tell you. I normally don't do this, but I agree with him. He's right. In my eyes, the dude's right. Let's take a look.
Representative Thomas Massie and Ro Khanna, a Republican and Democrat, are attempting to force a vote using a procedural method in the House, which would order the Department of Justice to release all the Epstein files that allegedly don't exist. I mean, let's not forget, in July, they didn't say we weren't getting the files. They said there are no files. They said all there is child porn. I said, that's all you're going to find. They said nobody has any right to see any more documents, files. There's no third parties. They said because, well, there's simply nothing there. All that's left is child sexual abuse material, which for obvious reasons cannot be publicized. Now they changed their tune. Apparently there are tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of files. They're withholding them. And as it stands right now, all 212 Democrats are voting to release the files. 4 Republicans are joining them. They need 2 more Republicans to break. And then we can have the files. Otherwise, it gets shut down. And it's honestly incredible. It was the Trump administration itself which campaigned on releasing the Epstein files. And it was the second Trump administration itself which earlier this year said they were doing this. They said that there would be a phased release of all the previously classified Epstein files, which started in February with the binder photo op, that whole fiasco. And it's incredible that this administration for at least a year has been pushing the disclosure of the files. Now the administration says the opposite. They said that it's a hostile action to vote to disclose the files. So they go from, we will do it, we're the most transparent administration, we'll get to the bottom of it, to, if you still want that, you're an enemy of the government. And that's literally what Trump said this week. So we'll talk all about that. We're also going to talk tonight about the military strike off the coast of Venezuela. The president of No New Wars is at it again. The president of No New Wars has bombed what is allegedly a drug smuggling vessel manned by 11 crewmen off the coast of Venezuela. This was an airstrike, a lethal airstrike, which killed everybody on board. We don't really know what this is. The government is claiming that this is Tren de Agua, a drug cartel. They claim that this vessel was bringing drugs into America. They claim the legal authority to strike the vessel because they've rebranded all the drug cartels as terrorist organizations. So this is justified by the authorization of the use of military force in the global war on terror. But we don't know if any of that is true because the government keeps changing its story. There was one story which said that the vessel was headed to Trinidad. Another story said the vessel was headed towards America. We don't really know who was on board. We don't necessarily know if they were carrying drugs. If so, if they were bringing fentanyl or something deadly or something else. We don't even know if the government has the justified legal ability to use lethal force in this case. Nevertheless, this is something that is happening, and this is just the start. There is a massive force deployment off the coast of Venezuela. Destroyers, missile cruisers, submarines, radar, 4,500 soldiers, and we're also making preparations to intervene in Mexico as well, deploying special forces or drone strikes inside of Mexican territory with or without approval from their government. So this is yet another war we're getting into, and we'll talk about this one because, of course, everybody recognizes this intervention is different. It is different in kind than the other interventions. And in what way? Obviously, this is an intervention in our side of the world. So it is different. Not all wars are created equal. You've got our proxy war with Russia in Ukraine. You have our intervention in the Middle Eastern conflict, this regional conflict involving Israel, Iran, and Iran's proxies. And then you have what is something like a counterinsurgency, a fight against narco-terrorism, a regional, what they're calling narco-terrorism, a regional war, regime change in Venezuela. All of this is happening in the Western Hemisphere. And we'll talk about that in particular. I'll give you my take on it. Obviously, I'm, like a lot of people, less opposed to this, but I'm not the biggest fan of how this is being handled. And we'll talk all about that. Should be a pretty good show. Bear with me. Like I said, I'm not 100%. I am sick. I think I have some kind of, I have a pretty bad cold. I came home from Labor Day weekend. Some douchebag friend of mine got me sick. And so I haven't been feeling so hot. I would have done a show yesterday and the night before, but I was a mess. I have this terrible runny nose, sinus pressure, so it wasn't going to be great. But tonight I'm feeling a little bit better, so hopefully I'll be able to stick it out and finish the whole show. So please, no complaining. People are always complaining now. They say, you're sniffling all the time. You need to get that figured out. It's like I have... Yes, after a week of... This is being reported for the past week, 2 weeks. Highly anticipated. The Trump administration was moving towards this historic renaming of our Department of Defense. That's the Pentagon. The DOD manages all the branches of the military, the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, the Space Force, etc. The Pentagon. The Trump administration officially renames the Department of Defense to the Department of War. Ooh, because, as Trump says, we're not just on defense, we're also on offense. Sounds a lot cooler. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm just getting so sick of the slop, man. I'm done with the slop. Is that all this administration can do? It seems like this administration does two things. It renames existing things, like the Gulf of Mexico, like the Persian Gulf, like military bases, like the Pentagon. It renames things, and it polices anti-Semitism. You can't get your FEMA rescue money. You can't get your Harvard grants and loans. You can't get citizenship or a visa in America. Is that all this administration can do? We were promised revolutionary change. We were promised vengeance. We were promised a golden age. And what we're getting is renaming things, and like the ADL is on steroids. The ADL is taking steroids. They're looks maxing. That's all this administration seems to do. Cracker Barrel, who could forget? I mean, think about it. That's all this administration does. They came in, they renamed the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. Oh, they renamed the Persian Gulf to the Arabian Gulf. They should have named it to the Gulf of Israel, right? Changed the names of the military bases back to Fort Bragg. Take that. Now we're changing the Department of Defense to the Department of War. And look, if the Trump administration was actually doing things, this would be a cool bonus. And maybe you could make a defense for it. No pun intended. Maybe there's a case to be made for this. But if you're not doing anything, like take a look around. The deportation's not happening. The legal immigration will continue. 600,000 Chinese students. War in Ukraine is, if anything, it's getting worse. We do this every night. I mean, you get it. The state of this administration, it's not making as much progress as it needs to be. It's way behind. And yet, every so often, they do these things, the military parade, Cracker Barrel logo, stuff like this. And it feels like it's very intentional. And it feels like it's designed basically to distract us. These are amusements. These are, it feels like, diversions. It is a signal, but signifying nothing. It is meant to signal that something has transformed, something essential about America is changing. This is a new country. We take bodies of water. We're fighting wars now. It's supposed to signal an essential underlying change, but there is no such underlying change. Everything seems to be exactly the same. Take, for example, Harmeet Dillon. She's heading up the Civil Rights Division in the DOJ. She's an Indian American. She did that tribute to Waheguru at the RNC last year. That's a Hindu, Sikh, Indian god. She's head of the Civil Rights Division of the DOJ. At the National Conservatism Conference this week, she speaks before what is supposed to be our based nationalist conservatives that are using state power to just do things. And she spoke to this crowd of what are supposed to be our allies and says that the Democrats are bringing their Klan robes and trying to stop us from enforcing equal opportunity. This is a Sikh Indian woman running the Civil Rights Division in the DOJ, and she's using the Dinesh D'Souza argument, the Democrats are the real Klansmen fighting for equal opportunity in Trump's DOJ. You got Marco Rubio as the Secretary of State. Guy is a neocon. And what are we doing? We are prolonging and extending Joe Biden's Ukraine policy, John Bolton's Venezuela policy, Benjamin Netanyahu's Iran policy. And so this is where you look at what is purported to be a signal of deep change on the exterior. The Cracker Barrel logo will stay the same. Return to tradition. Modern logos are bad. And the Trump's America, we're going to a Creed concert and then to Cracker Barrel with the old logo. And we have the Department of War because we just do things. It's like the old days, but it isn't. But in every way, it is not. There is no change. And I've used this comparison before. Trump is vaporware. And it's almost a perfect comparison because when Trump got into office in 2016, the big cultural wave on social media was vaporwave. It was Macintosh Plus, it was vaporwave music, the Tron grid, the rising sun. This was the aesthetic. It was the vaporwave 80s aesthetic. And what is vaporware? It is a product that's advertised that never actually arrives. That's what vaporware is. It's like vapor. And that's what vaporwave represented, and that's really what the Trump administration is. It's a simulacrum. It's vapor. It's not real. It's a representation of something that isn't or was never real. Lying to you. This is a feature, not a bug. A lot of people's concept, their mental model for how this works, candidates, and they're fighting so hard, and we're fighting every day, and you got to take what you can get, and hey man, it's only been a few months, they're trying really hard, and when the 4 years are up and they didn't deliver, well, we got to get them next time. And in reality, that's just not what's happening. In reality, the Republicans, they know they're lying to you. They know that they're lying to you. They think that you're idiots. They think that we're idiots. And they know what we care about, and they know what we talk about, and they shamelessly pander, shamelessly during the election. And it's like a competition to see who could be more crazy, who could be more extreme. The nativist rhetoric, the conspiracy rhetoric, all this kind of stuff. Each one-upping the next. And then they know when they get into office, they don't care about that stuff. Then they celebrate. We're in. We're good. We don't need your vote. Who cares about the Haitians? in Springfield, Ohio. Who cares about the vaccines now? Who cares about the Epstein files? Try to focus, guys. We're trying to cut corporate tax cuts. Who cares about that? This is what they do with everything. And so inside of the Epstein story, yes, obviously the Epstein files matter in themselves. They tell us other things. But this is a big conceit that is demonstrated by the whole thing. And it's incredible to witness how the narrative goes from, we will be more transparent than any administration. Here it is, guys. Here's your Epstein files. Wait, you still care about that? You're hostile to the administration. You need to switch parties. What are you, a Democrat? Why do you still care about this? And all the influencers follow suit. It proceeds from the top. The hypocrisy, the about face comes from Trump. And it trickles down and proceeds from the rest. And they go from 6 months ago, all right, everybody, promises made, promises kept. Here's your files. Here's what we promised and we delivered. 6 months later, oh, you actually wanted those files? You're stupid. I don't even want your support. You need to become a Democrat already. You still care about that? That doesn't even matter. And if you think it does, well, you're useless and an idiot, and we need to focus on other stuff. And that's Trump, and that's Pam Bondi, and it proceeds all the way down through the asshole Cernoviches, Posobics, the cat turds, the DC Dranos, all these cock-sucking influencers that are paid to lie, all these whores. And that's what they are. How did Mike Cernovich get so obscenely wealthy? Anybody know? Mike Cernovich went from a obscure pickup artist, blogger, who was writing about having sex with trannies in Thailand, chemically salty taste of their penises. That's in his blog. How did he go from that to political operator? Who paid him all this money? His patrons. He gets on his knees. He opens up his mouth. They give him the cash, and he says whatever they want him to say. And then he gets to walk around like he's the man. You have no fans. If you did a live stream, you couldn't get 300 viewers. You have no fans. They get elected. Oh, you care about that? You're crazy. You're a Democrat. And pay attention to every influencer on the internet. Pay attention to every dumbass influencer that is telling you you're crazy, that is against Thomas Massey. Pay attention to everyone that's on the wrong side of this issue, because it either means they're being paid, just like the Democrats. There was a big scandal that came out. I forget which publication. It was a left-wing publication. But just like all the Democrats are on the payroll of the DNC, all the influencers, it's the same with the Republicans. If anyone's against Massey, they're either on the payroll of the Republicans or they're too stupid. But do not let them gaslight you into thinking that we don't deserve this. Because, and it goes without saying, the only reason we're not getting disclosure on this is because it would indict Israel. Obviously. How about these new revelations that Peter Thiel and the Prime Minister of Israel and Jeffrey Epstein were all hanging out together repeatedly? How about that new revelation? Why do you think they don't want to release it? It's because they're implicated. The Republicans are implicated with Israel. They protect themselves. Israel is part of it. That's why they won't release it. And so this idea that, we're going to vote for Trump and Trump is going to deliver the revolution, obviously he's part of it. He's with them. Obviously. Vance, Thiel, Tucker, they're all with them. Don't you understand now? That's what this shows. And if there wasn't something in there, why would they not release it? For all of these Republicans that are protesting this so much, why not just release it then? If it's a hoax, if it's a distraction, why not just release it and get it over with? Why fight tooth and nail to prevent the disclosure? Why marshal the resources against Republicans, create animosity with Marjorie Greene and Thomas Massie and the base. Why go through all this? Of course, because they're hiding something. They're protecting their own, obviously. And so the proposition of what Trump is, it's just no longer there anymore. What you're going to get from Trump is they're protecting themselves. Same story as always. Same policies, corporate tax cuts, wars all over the world. And what is the real change? It's a change in style. Aunt Jemima's making a comeback. Uncle Ben is making a comeback. Cracker Barrel logo is making a comeback. It's the Department of War. And all of you fucking idiots, all of you dummies, all the Hill people, conspiracy theorists, flyover country, the basket of deplorables, you're all supposed to eat that up. Alligator Alcatraz. Oh boy. I hear Trump's really going to do it to him this time, and they fucking close it down in 30 days. They hate you. They hate you. They think you're an idiot. And in many cases, unfortunately, they are right. And it's sad. That's your Epstein files. Yep, it's a Democrat hoax. Remember that next year when Trump is going to be begging you to vote in the midterms. As stagflation sets in, the job market is cooked. Interest rates cannot come down because inflation's ticking back up. The war in Ukraine is only going to accelerate. We're going back to Iran. When all this stuff is raging and they're begging for your vote in the midterms next year, begging you, we just need to finish the job. President Trump needs you to vote, needs a majority. We got to finish what we started. Remember when he told you, I don't need your vote. Remember when they said Thomas Massie needs to switch parties already. Remember that. They call you a Democrat because you're true to the actual America First principles from 2016. And it's incredible. Now they're all glazing Patrick Buchanan all the time. You see this? They're taking turns now celebrating Patrick Buchanan. And, there's something funny about that. They will always glaze these people when they're inert. Have you noticed that? Pay very close attention. When Patrick Buchanan was running for president, these Trump and Tucker and all these people wanted this guy dead. Now that he's 100 years old, now they want to give him the Medal of Freedom. Come on, fossil. Come on, you fossil. Now that you can't fight anymore, now that you're 100 years old, after we destroyed your reputation, destroyed your career, destroyed your life, now we want to put a medal on you and appropriate your sacrifice. We want to appropriate your integrity, your struggle, your sacrifice, your courage. We want to say, retroactively, we were wrong. You were right. Here's your medal. And now we expect him to die within 15 years. You don't want to say that in a glib way, but that's what it is. Same with Ron Paul. All the same people said Ron Paul was crazy, wouldn't give him a chance, wanted him dead. Now that Ron Paul is 100 years old, Ron Paul, maybe he was right. We should listen to him. When people like me and Thomas Massie and Ye and whoever, when these people are alive, they fight us tooth and nail. It's the same story. And watch, if I were gunned down tomorrow, they'd lionize me. In 20, 30 years, and in 60, 70 years, whatever, when I'm politically inert, then they'll lionize me. This is just how they play. In the now, they're screwing us over. In the now, they're screwing us over. They're pissing on our leg, telling us it's raining, doing one thing, telling us it's another. And I guess the reason that stands out to me is because when you look at 2016, who was spiritually with Trump in 16? It was the alt-right. And now here we are 10 years later, and it's just indistinguishable from the GOP. Who is in the Trump camp now? It's Susie Wiles, J.D. Vance, who was a never Trumper. It's Rick Grinnell, who's a Marco Rubio, who is a neocon and ran against Trump in 16. It's Lindsey Graham, who's been around from, like, this is MAGA now. And who's on the outside? Massey, Marjorie Greene, Nick Fuentes. In some sense, Tucker's afraid to criticize Trump. Even Tucker's drifted outside. It's crazy. The gaslighting is insane. And to me, that's the story. That's the biggest story. Maybe that's the biggest significance of it. They said, hey, you rubes, hey, don't worry, we're going to take care of it when we win. They win, they don't deliver, and then they turn and say, hey, dummies, you better get in line. It's crazy, and people take it. They created this. They played into it. They played it up. And now that the Hill people want it, they turn and say, you fucking idiots, if you still want this, you're not loyal enough. You still care about this? You should just change your party affiliation because you're not loyal to Trump. And all these suckers eat this up. All these suckers make it, John Doyle, it was surprising. He's one of these YouTubers. He did a video about it defending this, and his comment section ate him alive.
It's a hoax.
Lying to America while you're sleeping in Epstein's bed.
Had the same expectation.
We all did.
Time to
And the
cash out.
FBI handed over a couple
You
hundred
lied to
pages of
America, now
documents.
it's time for us to shout. But the left was right,
I'm in charge.
and the right was
If
wrong.
I have it.
We ain't believing this lie.
No, we're giving you
time to
everything we
get
have.
gone.
So
You guys, Jeffrey Epstein himself, or did somebody kill him?
Rubber guns clearing
Senator
space.
believe he himself in a cell in
Coming
the
back
Metropolitan
talking
Detention
smack.
Center.
Putting Peter